All right, Lamont, are you excited for your psychic reading today?
Psychic reading? What do you mean, Leah?
Well, aren't we talking to a psychic today? I'm excited. Do you think she knows anything about zodiacs?
Oh, Leah.
What?
I think you misread, and it's psychiatry, not psychic.
Okay, well, at least we're not talking about physics.
Yeah, I hate physics. I'm Lamont, and I'm going to school for counseling psychology.
And I'm Leah, and I 100% have no idea what psychiatry is.
Well, today you're gonna learn. And you're tuning into the Lamont and Leah podcast. So today, Leah, we have a special guest.
Yes.
Her name is Claudia Thomas.
All right.
And we know her because when we were babies, tiny, well, you were a baby, I was more like a
Kid.
middle schooler, but like when we were little, we went to church with her husband, Chris Thomas. And they got together with us. They chatted us up one day, and it's like, hey, like, we've been checking out your podcast. We love all the mental health stuff you're doing. And my wife is in psychology, psychiatry, and would be interested in being on your show. So we were like, let's do it.
Yes, especially because, like I said, I have no idea what that is.
So it's going to be a very interesting day. We're going to talk a lot about like maybe the differences between psychology and psychiatry, maybe debunk some myths about psychology and psychiatry, and then just talk about like why it's important like to like learn about and have in your life.
Awesome. Sounds
All
good.
right. Let's get started. So Claudia, it's so nice to meet you today.
Nice to meet you all as well. Thank you for having me.
So we're so happy to have you on. Would you do us the favor of introducing yourself for our listener and viewer audience?
All right. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Claudia Thomas. I graduated medical school from Lamont University School of Medicine in 2009, and I have been working as a psychiatrist since then. I became board certified through the American Board of Psychiatry and Neurology in 2013. And I have worked in various roles through the Loma Linda University healthcare system. Currently, I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Psychiatry at the Loma Linda University School of Medicine. I am also an attending physician, outpatient psychiatrist, community psychiatrist, and resident psychotherapy supervisor through the Loma Linda University faculty medical group. Yep, there you go.
Thank you so much.
Very qualified.
Yeah,
thank
very
you.
qualified.
Thank you. I've been doing this for quite a while. Wow, I feel old.
Nah.
Yeah.
So
Age is just a number.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
no, you're fine. So today we want to talk about debunking myths about psychiatry. That's the name and the title of this episode. So I guess the first question to help us like understand like what psychiatry is what is the difference between psychology and psychiatry, and then how do they work together?
Okay, so that's a big one that I run into a lot. Some people are like, so wait a minute, are you a psychologist or are you a psychiatrist, and what's the difference? So I'm glad that you brought that question up. Basically, one of the easiest ways that you can differentiate the schooling between a psychiatrist and a psychologist is that psychologists usually get PhDs, whereas psychiatrists get medical degrees. So they're either MDs or DOs. So MDs are, doctor of medicine, DOs, doctor of osteopathy
Okay.
or osteopathy. crap, I don't know how to say that. Anyways,
That's all right.
regardless. So the biggest difference is psychiatrists are medical doctors. So we go through medical school, we go through residency, which is specialty training, and we become board certified. So we take board exams, 3 different steps during medical school and residency, and then a big national board exam after you finish residency. So yeah,
A lot of work.
a lot of testing. Yeah, it's whew, I don't know if I'd have the stamina for it if I were doing that right now. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's not for the faint of heart.
Right. Especially since, in medical school, you experience all the different things that all the other doctors that you know and love experience. You go through anatomy lab, you go through all the rotations. I rotate through emergency medicine, OB, internal medicine, all of the different specialties. But yeah, part of the way through, you just figure out what specialty you want to end up doing once you're done with medical school, and then you go into that after your 4th year.
Yeah. Interesting. So question.
Yes.
From the person who has no idea really what the topic is about today.
Sounds good to me.
What type of people do you work with? What is what am I trying to ask here?
I work with human beings.
Yeah. So what would be the difference with oh man, what is my question? I can't, what are words today? So therapy, right?
Okay.
Yes, therapy.
Okay, so what would be the difference in people that you see in a psychology, psychiatry, or just a counselor?
Okay. So let's actually back up. So the second part of that was, how does psychology and psychiatry work together?
Aha.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. The third question we'll come back to.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Did I just lose my finger? No,
it's okay.
All right. So how do psychology and psychiatry interact? It kind of has to do with finding the middle ground between psychology and biology. So my undergrad major was in psychobiology, which is there was a few courses where we looked at the neurology aspect of things and psychology, and found ways that they interact with each other. And that's basically how psychology interacts with psychiatry. There's the whole mind emotions component, and how emotions and thoughts interact to modify or produce behaviors. So that's the psychological component. And then there's the biological component, which has to do with the brain and how neurochemicals, neurotransmitters, and the balance of such can be disrupted with trauma or head injuries or things like that, and how that can affect a person's mood, causing more issues, or people to be more prone to anxiety or depression, that type of thing. Or how some people are born with certain ways that the brain function that either, make them more prone to having hallucinations, or paranoia, which means then they would probably be dealing with schizophrenia or some type of psychotic disorder. Or people born with a propensity toward ADHD, just the brain constantly firing all over the place and being very distracted. So there's there's a lot for all of this. So I don't know if I answered your question.
I think I can help.
Yes, please do.
All right. So because I'm going to school for counseling psychology, on my end, we definitely want to do the rapport building, and you do too. But we want to do the rapport building. We want to make sure our clients feel safe for when they talk to us, and we want to help them unpack some of those layers. Sometimes we can't help them unpack some of those layers because they're medical this is probably not proper language, but their medicalness is getting in the way, right? Like they might be depressed and I can't even really talk to them. So I'm like, hey, like I need to refer you to this psychiatrist who can understand everything from my notes to help you get the medicine that you need so you can actually talk to me so we can do the work on unpacking that and
Exactly.
stuff.
Exactly.
So psychologists are the ones that do the therapy, while psychiatrists, they can do therapy, but they really don't go to school for therapy. They go to school to prescribe medicine.
I get it.
Yep. There you go. There you go. Yeah,
Question
we go to
3
medical school.
Answered.
Yay! Awesome. Yeah, I think that's a wonderful way of describing it. I think, it's only a few residency programs that I think help train psychiatrists into learning a lot more about the psychotherapy aspect of things. But I am not an expert in psychotherapy. I wish I could say that I am, but I'm not. I do know that the psychologists, LMFTs, LCSWs, all of these people are much better trained in psychotherapy than I am. And so I will stick with my expertise, which is, dealing with the med management aspect of things and dealing with just, the whole health of the person, like the whole medical health of the person. And I will refer to the psychologists and counselors and therapists as necessary.
Yeah, for the mental health of the person.
Well, I deal with mental health too.
Yeah, so you do.
Yeah.
But like you said, like the whole like physical, right? Like
right.
Make sure like the medicine's not affecting their lungs or their kidneys or whatever, and like you want to make sure their mind's well. But then psychology, we're only really focusing on them. That's not true. I mean, we practice wholeness too. It's kind of, but like obviously we can't prescribe medicine.
Yeah.
So then we have to team up with a psychiatrist.
It sounds like there's a lot of crossover.
There can be.
It's two different things with like a Venn diagram.
Yes. There is a lot of crossover. We're just coming at treatment from a different perspective.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's the thing. I'm coming from the biological perspective of something may need to be balanced biologically in order for the thought process to be clear enough to be able to do therapy.
Okay.
So there we go.
That makes
All right. I think we came to an answer.
All right, cool. So, Leah, does that answer your question too?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Great.
I think I'm a little more on the subject now. We can start the podcast.
Awesome.
All right. So what kind of awful things have you heard about psychology and or psychiatry?
First of all, I know that the Scientologists hate us.
Okay.
That sounds like
why do they hate us?
It sounds like a website banner. It's like Scientologists hate them.
I don't know. There's like this, I think there's this museum out in LA somewhere where the Scientologists talked about the perils of psychiatry and all of that stuff, and where I think a lot of misconceptions come from, that we still, lock people up in cages and torture them and stuff like that.
History,
unfortunately, it is very unfortunate. And I'm very happy to say that we don't do that.
We don't do that.
We don't do that. No.
Informed consent.
Exactly. Oh my goodness. But yeah, even the people, because I do work with an inpatient psychiatric facility. Seriously, those things are set up like dorm rooms. It really is just set up like a dorm setting, and it's just locked doors on either side of the hallway. That's all it is.
So why would they need to fill? Why would they lock the doors?
Because okay, so this is this part gets a little tricky. Um, a lot of times when people are um, in a very severe depression, so severe to the point that they have less of a will to live and more of a will to die. Um, it's because their thought clarity, their ability to make rational decisions is incapacitated. So at that point in time, they don't have the decision making capacity to be able to say, no, I need to kill myself.
Yeah.
You know, because either, you know, with sometimes depression being very bad, a lot of times people hear voices telling them to harm themselves or others, or to run into the street, or whatever it is. So they don't have the decision making capacity. So even though they're in the hospital to try to get help, they're still not at the point where they can make the decision to leave the hospital,
Mm-hmm.
because their thinking is still
Distorted.
distorted.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So that's why it's locked. Basically, it's for the safety of the people that are not able to make decisions on their own.
Yeah. So earlier I was saying informed consent, informed consent. So they have consented to having the doors locked, if they were going to participate in that kind of medical treatment.
I, yes, but they also don't have the capacity to
So
consent for that.
some of them don't, right?
Yeah, some don't. A lot
So
of them do. A lot of them do. You know, there are people that come in voluntarily for treatment and everything. And that's great. But there are some of them that just cannot.
yeah.
Um,
And so that's so like whoever's like in charge, it could be their parents or their spouse or someone might give consent, but like they're of what's happening, even if that person may not be.
right.
So there's permissions given. Like we're just not like grabbing people up and saying, "You have no
Get in this
choice."
cell of whatever.
Right.
There's no cells.
Yeah.
There's
No, no, no.
Yeah,
There's
I
no
know. That's
cells.
what I'm saying. It's not like that.
Yeah, yeah. It's not like that. It's not like that. No,
Interesting.
it's yeah, it's a whole you know, consultation process it goes through. Usually what happens is someone shows up to the emergency room saying, I don't know, I don't want to be alive anymore, or voices are talking to me, or something like that. I don't know. And then that's when the psychiatrist on call will go to evaluate to see if the person needs to be hospitalized, for more acute intensive psychiatric care.
Interesting.
So going back to the Scientologists, I don't know why they hate us, but I do know that John Travolta's son died, and that was their religion, Scientology, and he could have survived if he would have gotten a blood transfusion, but because the family did not believe in, I guess, the medical side of things,
Huh.
which was in their family's right, like the son ended up passing away.
Interesting, because I knew about that with Jehovah's Witnesses. I didn't know that about
Yeah.
Scientologists as well.
Oh well, I always thought John Travolta was Scientology. I wonder if I'm.
I think he
I
is
hope
a
not.
Scientologist. I don't know.
I
I
hope
haven't the
not. But
foggiest. But yeah, that's the whole thing. When it comes to decision making capacity, it can be a nightmare. It can be a nightmare. But yeah, it basically the family's religious beliefs, especially if they were able to know the risks and the benefits, um, about blood transfusions or not getting one. You know, if they were rational and cognizant, then they could make the decision to refuse treatment.
Something I used to hear. Wait, sorry. I
Go
cut
ahead.
everyone off. Okay,
No,
I'm
go
gonna,
ahead.
I'm gonna lead into like another misconception that I've heard.
Cool.
Mhm.
Okay,
Do it.
awesome. So something that I've heard, it went around Tumblr for a long time, and it's starting to like kind of like phase out, but you still hear it every once in a while. Is like if someone is on medication for some type of mental issue, they shouldn't take it because the doctors are just trying to dope them up, and they should just go outside and be happy.
Oh.
Wow.
And
Isn't that kind of like the whole culture of the toxic positivity?
yes, like I mean, I hear it less now because there are a lot of people saying, "Hey, no, I like to take my medication. It helps me with, this thing and that thing." So like, how does that make you feel when you hear that? And like, our doctors try to dope up all the people so that they
No,
conspiracy. I don't know.
no. Well, I'm not I can't speak for every single doctor out
Yeah.
there because, there are some bad people in this world that make terrible decisions.
Yeah.
Um, but from my perspective and the way that I've been trained, no, we have no inclination to dope people up. My main goal is to help a person function better than they have been functioning so
Mm-hmm.
that they can live the life that they want to live, you know. So I tell my patients that are on medications, I was like, hey, if this medication makes you feel bad or you have some bad side effects from it, let me know. We can definitely try something else. you
Mm-hmm.
know I, I'm There's no reason for you to be on this medication that makes you feel like crap. You already feel like crap anyway.
Yeah.
I don't need you to feel like further crap, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
and
Okay.
that actually leads to another misconception, because I have had some patients say, hey, I know you want me on to be on this medication because, yeah, you get the big money from big pharma. I'm like, I don't get no money from no big pharma. I don't know what you're talking about.
You're like, I wish
I
Yeah,
I
I know,
got the
wish
right?
big
I
money
got
from
the
pharma.
money.
I wish.
No, I am employed through Linda University. I don't get no money from no big pharma. I don't care what medication you're on,
Yeah.
just as long as you can afford it so you can actually take it.
Yeah.
And not that you're saying this, I'm saying this for you. And Loma Linda doesn't pay you enough. So,
Thank you.
like,
Thank
there's
you.
no big money.
She's like, I said nothing.
I didn't say it. I didn't say it. But, if Loma Linda watches this and is like, hey, maybe we should pay her more. I'd accept that. I think that's great. Wow. Thank you. I was not anticipating that. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, so what about people who are very like anti-medication but like obviously need something? Like, would a walk help? Like
So there are actually studies that show, certain lifestyle changes,
Mhm.
like exercise and diet change can be very helpful for balancing the neurochemicals as well. So yeah, could walking outside help? Sure. Um, but a person who is, psychotic, who has the voices telling them to, put uh, aluminum foil on their heads so that the government doesn't spy on them, going outside for a walk isn't going to help.
Mhm.
That's when the medication can really help a lot. And that's the main thing. I mean, and if your belief system is so distorted, it's okay. You're good. If your belief system is so distorted by the psychosis like that, yeah, there's no way really you can interact in therapy
Yeah.
to start functioning better in
Mhm.
general. So yeah, that's more where the usefulness of the medication is. And not everybody that sees me needs to be on medication. I've had people, especially people with like postpartum depression,
Mhm.
they're on the medication while they're experiencing the depression after the postpartum period. And then once they get out of that depressive episode, and they're out of that immediate postpartum period, we can wean off the medications and they don't need to be on it. You know, it's a case by case scenario.
Okay.
What? So Leah and I come from very like, I'm not sure if I'm even using this right. Like indigenous roots, and so what I mean by that is like natural remedies and stuff. Like the Hawaiians believe in like natural remedies, and African American culture, there's some natural remedies that you would take instead of going to a doctor.
Very holistic sort of
like
mindset. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? Does that stuff really work, or does it not work, or what do you think?
So the shortest answer I can give is it depends. Some things can be very helpful. There are certain herbal remedies that can be very helpful for mood amelioration. I don't know if you all have heard of St. John's wort, or valerian root, melatonin. All of those things have had, I believe that there's evidence and research done that show that they do affect the serotonin receptors and or the serotonin levels in the brain. So they can be very helpful for treating mood. But there are other things out there that may not be as helpful. And sometimes if taken too much of can be harmful to other systems in the body too. Yeah. So I have people that, you know, are on different probiotics or vitamins or supplements or whatever. And, you know, I don't forbid them to take them, but I also have them let me know just in case I know of any adverse outcomes from any of the ingredients that can come from them, so that they are informed and they can make the decision on their own whether or not to be on that.
All right.
Yeah, hopefully that answered the question.
No, it did.
Yeah. Okay.
Is there anything else like that you might have heard about psychiatry that's just like off the wall?
It's off the wall.
We don't do that. Like what?
I know, right? Yes. So not all psychiatrists go into the field to fix themselves. So, right? I don't know. I think, was this a medical school? I don't know. I've heard from other people that like, oh, you're a psychiatrist. You must have gone into the field to fix your crazy. And I'm like, no. I went into this field because I like working with the brain and emotions. And I just didn't want to be a neurologist.
Yeah.
So we don't all practice like Freud. So meaning we don't have people lying down on couches throughout sessions. It's there's that. What else?
Psychologists don't do that anymore either.
Yeah, there you go.
Very old practice.
What? I want to lay down on a couch.
I mean, like, if you ask your therapist, like, could I lay down on the couch? They'll probably be like, I'm not Freudian, but okay. Like, if that makes you most comfortable.
Exactly. Oh my goodness. Yeah, usually I wouldn't have people lying down on my couch just because I'm like, you'll be falling asleep and then I can't ask you how you're doing.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So don't lay down on the couch. No. Oh yeah, I've had other people say that I'm like a drug pusher, you know, and I'm like, listen, I may give you medication, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to force you to, you know, be on medicines that I don't think would be helpful. Exactly.
Like you have to be responsible if you take them or not, one, and then the medications are to help you. So.
Right. I mean, those are the biggest things. Oh, ink blots. Yeah, we don't use ink blots.
That's disappointing.
So if you come across a Freudian psychologist, they actually still might do the ink block test for you.
Right. But not psychiatrists.
But yeah, psychiatrists don't do.
Yeah.
I like the ink blots.
I mean,
It can be
they're
telling.
cool.
Like, can be telling, and they can tell you a lot of different things
It's true.
about the person. But again, you're looking more at Freudian psychology versus psychiatry or just psychology in general.
Right, right. The only time I've used things like, the drawing, like, what is it, the tree person house thing. Do you guys learn about that? Oh, okay. Um, Having people draw a tree, a person, and a house, and then being interpreting the drawings to
Mm-hmm.
see about any underlying trauma or attachment issues or anything like that. Yeah, I remember learning about that. Was it in medical school? Might have been. I don't know. Um, so sometimes I use that technique for people who have a very nonverbal way of interacting or got traumatized very early on in their lives. Like when they're pre-verbal,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to elicit things that I wouldn't be able to elicit verbally just because they're not able to explain it verbally. Um, like people who are autistic, and unfortunately kids who were abused before the age of 3 or 2 or something like that. So it's this is how psychology plays in with psychiatry. And this plays a lot more of a role with one of the supervisory roles that I have at Loma Linda is supervising the residents for their psychotherapy clinics. So it helps us get more to the bottom of, okay, where did this trauma come from? How can we help with, processing through the trauma, and as well have the medications on board to help with being able to do the therapy needed.
Interesting.
Once again, that's a Loma Linda thing. So I don't know how many psychiatry programs there are out there that have a big focus on psychotherapy.
All right. So, with all of that said, would you be able to share a story or two about the power of psychiatry that you've experienced?
Okay. Um, One recent one, it might sound a little weird, but psychiatry can be weird. Um, so the way one person explained it, um, it's this middle-aged lady who has been taking care of everything and everyone around her, but totally um, ignoring herself and her own self-care. Just got extremely frantic. Why are you laughing? What was happening?
Leah was like gesturing to herself, like, "Oh, I can relate to this lady because I've been taking care of everyone, and I need self care."
Anyway,
We can talk after we're done. I'm just saying. So this lady has been just going on overdrive for 5-6 years at least. And she's been overwhelmed, but she doesn't realize how overwhelmed she is. She just started having issues with anxiety and depression and not being able to get things done. So I go through the DSM criteria, blah, 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 whatever, and she meets criteria for major depressive disorder, generalized anxiety, and all of this wonderful stuff. I don't know about wonderful, but all of this stuff. So,
all the criteria. She meets all the criteria.
all the criteria, basically. So I start her on some medication. She tries different things. Nothing really helps. And then I have her on Prozac, and I get her up to, pretty hefty dosing of the Prozac. And she comes in at one visit after she's been on like either 60 or 80 milligrams of the Prozac. And she's like, okay, you're going to think I'm weird, but I can actually see colors again. And I'm like, what? Okay, you're going to have to tell me what you're talking about here. And she's like, I can actually look out of the window of my car and see that the flowers on the trees are purple, because before they were just kind of like shades of gray. Like, okay, but what else have you been noticing? Well, I've been noticing, the flowers in my garden are so vibrant, and the even the color of her couch in her house matches the walls. And she's like, I didn't know that they matched that well. And I didn't know that they were that vibrant of a green. And she was like, you think I'm weird, don't you? I'm like, no, I think that you're finally able to focus on something other than everything that you have to do.
Mm.
You're finally able to see things more clearly and able to experience joy in your life, and being able to notice things that are aesthetically pleasing, because before you were just so overwhelmed you couldn't see that before, you know. So I thought that was just a wonderful description of what it can be to be on the proper treatment,
Right.
you know, um, when it comes from a medication standpoint. Um, yeah, I thought that was pretty poignant.
Yeah, I'm so glad you had her explain what she meant. Like, I feel like, because I'm in psychology, I knew exactly what she was talking about. Like, there was a period where she wasn't seeing color, so it was just, as soon as you said, I can see all the colors, like, oh, that's great. I
I
wish I was
know.
that. Their therapist, I would probably be like, all happy, like, happy teared, like, therapy.
Oh my goodness. It was such a beautiful feeling. Such a beautiful feeling. Um, yeah, I guess other times, um, because I do see people who are adults, but they're autistic adults.
Mhm.
So they come in with their parents or whoever their caregivers are, and I help with helping to control violent behaviors or anger outbursts, things like that, with the medications. And some of them, a lot of people with autism actually have comorbid diagnoses of OCD as well.
Mm.
So I see a lot of them come into the office doing a lot of their stereotype mannerisms and OCD behaviors, tapping things multiple times or counting or whatever. And as I have them on the right medication regimen, they're able to interact better with their family members and or their caregivers. Sometimes they're actually able to communicate a lot better. They can actually start using words more. They do less of the repetitive OCD like behaviors that they were doing as well. They're less violent. And I've had some that actually started being able to have conversations with me, and I just found that like terribly gratifying. I'm like, oh yay, you're able to converse and communicate more. And yeah, that was, those are some other poignant um, times in treating. Yeah.
So I kind of want to go back to your first story, and it sounded like it took a while for you guys to get to that point. How long do you say it might have taken?
Yeah, so it depends on the person. So with this particular person, there was a lot of rapport that needed to be built. There's a lot of trust that needed to be built. And medication compliance wasn't always the utmost. um, yeah, there wasn't always medication compliance. So this is where, rapport building is very key in any therapeutic relationship, whether it's with a therapist or a psychiatrist here. There has to be a sense of teamwork um, in treatment. So with this particular lady, she had to know that I was actually trying to help with treating her and helping her feel better and do things better rather than any of the other myth things, just making money off of the medicines or seeing her for visits or whatever and stuff like that. So with her, it took a while just because the rapport had to be there.
Yeah.
I think it might have taken like a year or so, something like that. Yeah.
So I think the other problem is like we live in an age of people who like we want instant gratification. We want it now. Like if I start seeing you within like a few weeks, I expect to feel better. And if it doesn't work, then there's either something wrong with you or you're lying to me or like all of this stuff, right? And like sometimes you have to just stick with it for a while.
Yeah. And oh, sorry about that, Chase. That's the problem with nearly every single psychiatric medication there is out there. It takes a long time for it to kick in. All of the antidepressants, especially, it takes a good month or two before it starts to kick in. Because when it comes to, well, I'll give you an example with the antidepressants. The most common antidepressant is the SSRI, the selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, right? And the way that that works is it changes the proteins in the neurotransmitters to help keep the serotonin in the presynaptic space longer. And if the serotonin is there for longer, then the receptors have an easier time binding to it. So it's not giving you more serotonin, it's just making whatever the body's serotonin level already is more readily available for the receptors to hold on to, okay? So the whole thing is the way that the neurotransmitters and the receptors are changed, it takes changing the proteins, which takes changing the hormones, which takes several weeks to be able to change all of that. Just because new proteins have to be made and they have to be folded, and then there has to be enough to make the receptors, binding caps, all of that stuff. So that's why these medications take so long, because they have to go through the whole process of changing hormones and protein building and everything. I think I just lost you all. Sorry. I got a little too complicated over there.
No, you didn't.
Okay.
Like I learned all this in my pharmacology class. So
yeah. So that's the problem. Every single antidepressant is going to take time for it to really start kicking in and working. And what I usually do for a person is I start them on the medication, and then I say, all right, we're going to see if you have any problems or side effects from the medication in the first month before I see you again. Because if you do, then we can try something different. You know, it's all about what they can tolerate from the side effect profile, rather than seeing if the medication will make them feel happy within a week. Unfortunately, it won't do that.
It takes time.
It takes time, and it takes a lot more than medication. Frankly, it does take the therapy component.
Right. And then you also said something very important: medical compliance or medicine compliance. Like you are responsible for taking your meds how you're instructed to take your meds. And if you're not doing it and you're not getting results, then like come on, like what can I do as a doctor? Like
exactly. No, I've had some people, and I think that with that particular lady where things weren't working very well, she was taking the medications as needed. I'm like, no. You don't take antidepressants as needed. It doesn't work like that.
you need to take them as I prescribe them.
Right. So that's the thing. That's actually a common misconception, that a lot of these medications can be taken as needed. No. A lot of them have to be taken on a continuous basis, so there can be a blood level of the medications available to make the protein and hormonal changes there. You know, it's kind of like with treating thyroid issues or with treating diabetes or something. You know, you don't take, you don't take certain medications as needed. No, you take it all the time. in order to be able to change the hormonal balance or change the, the chemical balance in the body, you
Yeah.
know.
Makes sense.
Yeah. I think Leah has a question for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, you know, I spend a lot of time on social media.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like every single day there's someone else going, "Oh, I just got diagnosed with
Anxiety,
ADHD,
depression.
autism, depression,
Bipolar.
anxiety,
Oh
bipolar."
my
Like
goodness,
it seems like
bipolar is so overdiagnosed. I
like
can't
some
even with that.
yeah, it always seems like
Goodness.
someone is always being diagnosed, and they're almost always like older teen adults to like middle age. So I'm just wondering if like has it always been this way, or is it just because now people are just seeking more help because, there's been a really big push in social media like in the last few years, like, hey, if you're
Yeah.
feeling this way, go see someone, get some help.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm just like wondering, either of you, do you have any answers?
I say yes. It's all of the above. No. Um, I think, frankly, with social media being as readily accessible as it is, um, we're able to see things more that we weren't able to see in the past.
Hmm.
Just like with new news reportings of different things happening.
Yeah.
People are able to say, "Hey, I've been diagnosed with this," and you're able to see it.
Hmm.
Whereas in the past, the only way that you would be able to know if they were diagnosed with it is if they called you on the phone or they wrote you a letter or
Yeah.
something. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
So it's part of it is kind of like a selection bias to some extent of where no, it's not a selection bias. It's some type of bias, but we're able to see it more
Yeah.
readily. Um, Other parts of it is there might be a destigmatizing component that could be leading to people going out, yeah,
Hmm.
to
Yes, let's
getting more help.
destigmatize it. Destigmatize.
Right. So there may be something like that going on with people saying, "Hey, it's okay for you to go out and get help. Hey, it's okay for you to be diagnosed with this, that, or the other thing.
Hmm.
You can still be successful even with having this diagnosis." I would much rather hope it's something like that.
Yeah.
Um, you know, and then unfortunately, there are people that um, go to quote unquote Dr. Google and diagnose themselves, so there might be some of that as well.
Guilty.
Yeah, right.
Be
Yeah,
like, look, I'm experiencing this and this symptom. What does this mean?
Right. To me,
right.
for me right now, it's Doctor TikTok.
There you go. There you go. So yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, no, people don't do Dr. Google anymore. I'm totally dating myself as a person with
No,
all of my
definitely.
references to social media.
Um,
Rotary phones. No, I'm sorry.
I mean, at least for me, I'm seeing it more on the like destigmatized side of it, because like previously, I would have never, ever, ever, ever reached out for anything, and then I did. I mean, granted, I only went to 2 sessions and then quit that, but like, I would have never before.
Right. And if you feel the need to quit, Leia, I would recommend finding a different therapist because, like I always tell everyone, therapy is for everybody, but not every therapist is for everybody. You gotta find
Yeah.
your groove,
She's not.
Mhm.
They were not.
and that's okay.
They were not a fit. We'll talk about that later.
That's okay. It's okay to say this person's not a fit for me, and I need to find someone that fits me better.
Exactly. And I tell my patients that too, that come to see me. And I'm like, "Hey, I will do what I can to help you out. But if I feel like you might get better help from someone else, I will let you know, and then you have the choice of going to see someone else.
Hmm.
You don't have to see me.
Yeah.
I'll just do the best that I can. And if it doesn't work out with me, then you go see someone else that will do better for you. You
Yeah.
know.
Okay.
So Leia and I are always talking about mental health. Not always, but like we're either talking about it or referring to it, mental health, mental fitness. There's some like component in our show about it, like taking care of yourself or putting it back on yourself or ways to have better social interactions, which is part of mental fitness or mental health. Why is psychiatry or psychology so important? And how can we make people more comfortable in seeking help?
That's the question of the year, isn't it, huh? Why is it so important? I mean, basically, no matter who you talk to, our thoughts and our emotions affect our behaviors. That's the thing, and vice versa. Our behaviors
Yes.
affect our thoughts and emotions.
Let me see if I can pull up that diagram. Hold on. Keep going.
Yes.
Keep
Okay,
going.
okay. So if something is off with, your mental health, whether you're constantly anxious about things and that keeps you from being able to start things or get things done. If you have ADHD, you can't focus. If you're depressed, you can't get out of bed. You know, if you have something like that going on, you're not going to live the fullest life you can.
Hmm.
You're not going to be able to accomplish the things that you want. And for some people, it might lead you to feeling hopeless to the point where you might take your life. You know, it's extremely detrimental if these things are not addressed sooner than later. And, some people out there might be all like, well, no one's going to understand me. No one has been through something like this, like I have. I, I, I haven't worked in this field for, 30, 40 years or whatever. But in the 10, 15 years that I've worked here, I have heard so many similar stories from people. Not the same story, because no one goes through the exact same thing and reacts to things exactly the same way. But similar stories. I lost a job and then I got depressed. We had this relationship and it fell through somehow. And then I got depressed. Or, I had this medical diagnosis, or I had this brain injury, or I had this or that or the other thing. Um, the stories are similar. There's always going to be someone out there that can understand where you're coming from and what you're experiencing. It just takes being able to find that person. And in some ways, it takes a lot of courage to be able to go out and seek help.
Yeah.
Um, I've had so many people that have said, I've tried so hard to not come in and see you because it feels so weak. And I was like, you know what? It takes a lot of courage to come out and see me. Nobody wants to see a psychiatrist. Not a single person wants to see a psychiatrist. The fact that you are here in my office right now tells me how courageous you are, or how bad things got to the point where you're finally saying, I need to see someone.
Yeah.
You know?
So, you were just speaking on this little thing, and it might help someone to see it. So, I love talking about this. Let me go ahead and share. It's a little diagram, and at the top it says thoughts. To the left corner it says feelings, and to the right it says hold on, behavior. And there's an arrow each way going, like pointing both ways, showing that's reciprocal relationships. So our thoughts impact our feelings, and our feelings impact our thoughts. Our feelings impact our behaviors, and our behaviors impact our feelings. Our behaviors impact our thoughts, and our thoughts impact behaviors. And it keeps going around. It's a cycle, right?
That's the basis for cognitive behavioral therapy right there.
Yeah, right there, right there.
Yep.
This is also known as a cognitive triangle sometimes. So if I'm not taking care of my mental health, or if my thoughts aren't healthy, then my behaviors aren't going to be healthy. My feelings about myself aren't going to be healthy. Or if my feelings aren't healthy, it's going to affect my thoughts and my behaviors. Or if I'm not eating well, which is a behavior, it's probably going to affect my thoughts and my feelings. Like, man, I feel crappy today. Well, maybe you shouldn't have had that big, huge burrito. Maybe you should have only had half, you know?
No, always have the big, huge burrito. That makes me feel a lot
Like, I
better.
love burritos. I do.
Hey, I'm with you there. Hey. Oh man. Did we answer your question?
Yeah, so yeah, it's important to. So I guess we need to answer like, how can we help people be more comfortable? And I think Leah kind of talked about it. Like, things are being destigmatized.
Mhm.
People are like we have Demi Lovato out there saying, "Get help." You know, she's a big icon.
They,
She got help, and she
they,
encourages other people to get. They, you're right. They got help, and they encourage other people to get help.
True.
Um,
And that's a big thing. A lot of times, celebrities, just because all eyes are on them, they have a bigger impact on on coming out as being diagnosed with something,
mhm.
or having these certain mental health issues or struggles. A lot of times, if they come out as saying, "Hey, I sought help and I got better because of it," that can be incredibly destigmatizing.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, it can also be the opposite because
Yeah.
we have Brittany. So
Free Britney.
yeah, yeah, free
wait,
Brittany.
wait, wait. What do you mean by Brittany? What is the opposite?
So Brittany got caught up in a terrible scandal with conservatorship with some shady people,
Okay.
and she may have had some mental health issues at some point in time, but in my opinion, I don't think she needs to be under conservatorship at this point in time. But I don't know her whole case,
Yeah.
Okay.
you know. So with her, because it's so public or whatever, people might say like, "Oh no, I don't want to go get help. I don't want to end up like Brittany."
Right. Gotcha.
That's
Okay.
what I mean.
All right.
That's
Thank you for
what I
tying
mean.
that in. Gotcha.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
And that's the thing. Not everyone ends up like that. We don't do straight jackets anymore. Like seriously, we don't. We don't. The shock therapy stuff that you guys probably have seen, people like, I don't know if you guys have heard of shock therapy.
Yeah. All the
Yeah.
time.
So
Yeah.
my understanding, it still happens, but not because you have like it has to be an elective thing that you choose.
Right.
And you're trying to actually like trigger something, but not all patients are gonna get it. I think it's more for like they try it on epileptics because they found it actually
No, so
no. Okay.
basically what shock therapy is, we don't like to call it shock therapy. We call it electroconvulsive therapy.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So basically, what it is in a very controlled environment, inducing the all of the brain to be activated to kind of reset the brain's neurochemical structure to help with treating very severe and or treatment refractory mood issues, whether it be depression, anxiety, bipolar, schizophrenia, that type.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought they were finding progress with epileptics, people that have seizures.
Um, it would be easier to induce a seizure in a person who already has seizures.
Okay, so
Yeah.
they're
So
not using it with
Yeah.
them. Okay, I don't know why I thought they were
no, no, no,
like
no, no.
finding
I
like
mean,
resetting of the brain and stuff.
well, I mean, it's so this is the thing, when it comes to electroconvulsive therapy, you do um, administer a small amount of electrical impulse to trigger a seizure. That basically, lights up, quote unquote, the whole brain.
Hmm.
And that's the process that helps to reset the neurochemicals or the neurochemistry.
Mhm.
So a person who is epileptic or already has a seizure disorder, it'd be easier to trigger a seizure in them.
Mhm.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So that's fine.
Science.
I know, right? All of these things, you're like, oh my goodness,
So
there's so
like
many
so
science
remember
terms.
guys, that's an elective therapy. It's not a first hand we're gonna go do this therapy kind of thing.
No.
I think you actually like because of all the bad things that have happened in psychiatry, you have to like qualify for.
Oh yeah. No, so this is the thing. Before insurance will approve of ECT to be done, there have to be a number of medication trials and failures first. A number of treatment modalities tried and failed first. And in order for the first treatment to be done, there has to be 3 separate doctors that evaluate the patient for the necessity of the treatment, you know, and yes, it is very voluntary. It's not something that is done against a person's will.
Good.
Yeah, no. And it's not scary. It's really just like a surgical procedure. They're under general anesthesia. You don't see anything, really.
Yeah. It's not like the
Yeah.
movies where they're just like, ha 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 ha. zzz. Yeah.
No, not at all. It is so different from the movies. The only thing you might see is like the big toe, like going up and down or something like that. Yeah. But that's it. So yeah, it's totally different. Okay, sorry I got on the whole ECT.
Oh no, it's totally fine. Actually, I think right now would be a great time to take a break.
That's great. Let's do it.
After we talk about big toes, we can take a break.
Yay, big toes.
Lamont, recently, the children went back to school.
It is true.
I think like maybe just last week. Or maybe some are starting next week.
Yeah, like 2 weeks ago.
Really?
Yeah,
I mean,
like
school started different times, but yeah.
Yeah,
So
school started
it's
different
back to
times.
school.
But
It's
the
back-
Colton School District out here in San Bernardino went back. That's one of the main ones I work with.
Yeah.
They went back about 2 weeks ago.
Wow. Anyway, I thought today, because of back to school season, we would do a show and tell.
Fun. Fun.
So Lamont, what have you brought to show and tell today?
I brought my Alexa.
His Echo Dot.
I love using Alexa. I use her for so much, like especially like a lot of.
She's responding.
Yeah, especially when we're like doing pop culture things and like I want to know someone's birthday or when they died or when they got married or who they're dating. So I'll ask her that.
Are you not concerned about them listening?
I don't care. Like what are they gonna listen to? Like me being like a total drama king over here? Like I have no government secrets.
That's what I always say too. I really want one, but Patrick doesn't like them, or both him and his dad don't like them. But I mean, I guess Patrick's dad does technically work for the military, so
Okay.
I mean, in his case, maybe. For me, all they're gonna find out is how often I'm like, oh, I'm hungry.
Yeah. What's really cool is like I can order things through her, like it hooks up with my Amazon. Oh, and I use it a lot for going to bed. So I'll be like, I'll say her name, and then read me my book or read me a story.
Yeah.
And that's really nice. Like, so
Nice.
there's a lot of helpful things that happen. I need to get my lights on it. And then, like, I need to get my TV on it. Like, it turns it off, but it won't turn it on. And I think I have to, like, get a special thing to do that.
He's gonna have a smart house.
Yeah.
Lucky. So my item is actually a relic. This was my very first digital camera.
Ooh.
This is what started it all, ladies and gents. It was a Kodak Easy Share ECX7300 with 3.2 megapixels.
Wow. Well, that was, like, really good back then, right?
I guess.
What are the megapixels today?
Like 12 plus.
Wow.
I don't even know what my other camera is. But yes, so it was mostly for photography because originally I was into photography. It wasn't video. Plus this thing could only do 30 seconds of video at a time, no audio.
Wow.
But yes, I took many good pictures on this little thing. She's chunky, but like honestly, there's not much of a size difference between her and my mirrorless camera.
Oh wow.
Like,
yeah,
look
it's a
at
little
that.
smaller, but
Yeah.
like yeah.
Very comfortable. But yes, this is the camera that started it all. I started off in photography, decided I loved video, and there you go.
Very
click.
cool.
I tried to take selfies on it the other day, but the SD card reader doesn't work. So, I was sad. Anyway.
So, if you're watching, what's something you would want us to share with Leah and I?
Yes.
Oh,
Show
tell
and
us
tell
about it.
us in the comments or Instagram.
Yeah. Send us well, yeah, I guess you can send us pictures.
Yeah, and Instagram. Show and tell us in the Instagram messages.
Or our Facebook. Yeah.
Or Facebook.
At the Ln'L Productions.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right, Claudia, thank you so much for joining Leah and myself on our podcast.
Thank you for having me. Had a great time.
Yeah, I
Yes.
had a great time too.
Yeah.
I feel like we laughed a lot.
Yes.
I know, right?
My
Yeah.
cheeks are hurting.
So before you go, is
Yes.
there any projects that you are working on or would like to talk about?
You know, I thought about this question, but I didn't. I'm sorry. Any project that I'm working on, I can't say that I currently am, other than, you know, hoping and praying that people's interactions with me can help with destigmatizing seeing a psychiatrist. You know, that's probably the least that I could do. And hoping that you also experiences and podcasts and everything like that help to lead with the destigmatization process. Just because, man, this country, this world needs a lot of mental health care.
Yeah.
And a lot of people need it and either don't realize they need it or don't know where they can get the help from. So, yeah, I don't have any specific projects, just the global project of, you know, trying to save a life one person at a time.
That's a great
Cool.
project.
There we go.
So, we kind of talked about you becoming a professional podcaster. So, if people wanted to get in contact with you, what would be the best way for them to do that?
So if it has to do with my work, probably my professional email address would be the best. So that would be ccarmona@llu.edu. Yeah, that should be it. I mean, I could give you my work's phone number. You know, if you're interested in getting mental health care, you know, and you live close to the Loma Linda area, there are people available at where I work at the Loma Linda Behavioral Health Institute that can see you for therapy or medication management or a combo of the two. So my work's phone number, 909-558-9551, that will go to the front desk. And, you know, if you're wanting to schedule to see an appointment, to see someone for a new appointment, they can transfer you to the intake department and you can get in to see someone. It might not be me, and that's okay. There's plenty of good people that work in this building outside of me. So.
All right.
Yeah, we'll
And
put all
Loma
those links.
Linda?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Loma Linda is located in California,
Yes.
in the Inland Empire. So,
Inland Empire, 60 miles away from LA.
all right. And then finally, would you leave us with a few powerful thoughts or words or any kind of message? It doesn't have to be about this, but like just anything you want people to like know or feel. That would be really awesome.
I think one of the most poignant things that I've been learning from my patients throughout the whole process is crying isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of you having been so strong for so long.
I love that.
That it sounds kind of cliche, but no, it's totally true. Sometimes all you need is a little cry, and then you can just get on throughout the day. And it's okay. It's okay if we cry. You know, it's just your eyes sweating.
I like that.
Okay, there we go.
Once again, thank you so much for being on our podcast.
Thank you once again for having me, and hopefully, yeah, we can continue this education of everyone.
Yes. And thank you to our listeners and viewers, and we'll see you next week.
Today's life lesson is make mental fitness a priority. What is mental fitness? Mental fitness are the things that you do every day or often to keep your mind, body, and spirit healthy. Mental fitness is a priority. So I'll leave you with this. There's a big difference between can't and it just isn't a high priority. And that is today's life lesson.